We have our first quarterback off the board in the 2022 NFL draft, and it's Kenny Pickett to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will Brinson here along with John Breech to break down the selection of the guy who played in the same stadium he's going to be playing in as a pro, the successor to Ben Roethlisberger, and the ultimate sort of, we knew Kevin Colbert was going to do it. It was just a matter of who, and it ends up being the hometown guy. Breech, give me a grade on Kenny Pickett, as we like to say, to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Brinson, I am going to give I'm going to give this pick a C, and I am going to correct you and say the possible successor to Ben Roethlisberger. Not name him the automatic successor here. Look, we all know the last pick quarterback to be drafted in the first round, Dan Marino. I do not think Kenny Pickett is going to be even remotely as successful as
he could win a Super Bowl at least.
You know what? And also, you mentioned how late in the draft this is. First time since 1997 that we've seen a quarterback drafted this late. I think my issue with this, and we know the Steelers need a quarterback, obviously, because Ben Roethlisberger retired, but I honestly, this is going to sound crazy, and this is why I don't run a football team, but look, the Steelers just signed Mitchell Trubisky. I give Mitchell Trubisky the team this year, and I say, let's see what he can do. This isn't a great quarterback class. Let's use this pick, the 20th overall pick, on someone who can help us win this year. Let's get an offensive lineman or a receiver or a cornerback and build a team around Trubisky and see what he can do. Because what if Kenny Pickett goes into camp, can't beat out Trubisky, then Trubisky's your starter anyway, and you wasted your pick. So Pickett's really going to have to prove himself to justify this pick, and that is why I'm giving it a C.
I'm fine with that. I'm going to give it a P+.
Ooh.
You asked what a P+ is? Well, it's obviously for Pickett, but it's also Paramount Plus, our fantastic streaming service. Go to ParamountPlus.com and sign up today to get world-class. You might, if you live in the Pittsburgh area, you'll be able to watch the Steelers via Paramount Plus. You will also
Plus on P+.
You can watch P+ on P+. I don't think the Trubisky thing. Okay, I think that's a good point. And I think it's a good point, but it's also a little bit easier where the Steelers did it, knowing that they are an organization that's probably mostly in the mix to be a playoff team this coming year. They have, good leadership of the coaching, with Mike Tomlin. They have plenty of good players. Worst case scenario, Trubisky beats out Pickett and you let Pickett learn for a little bit, and maybe Trubisky doesn't play well, then Pickett takes over. To me, this is a much bigger problem if you're a team like the Panthers that hasn't won more than 5 games in 3 years, and ultimately, is having to deal with Sam Darnold versus Kenny Pickett. At least if Mitchell Trubisky beats out Kenny Pickett, it's like, well, he is a rookie. Trubisky had that whole season in Buffalo. He sort of figured things out. And if Pickett doesn't play it down, if he doesn't start a game in 2022 for the Steelers, it probably means that Mitchell Trubisky is playing some pretty good football. So I don't mind that quite as much at 20th overall. At 6th overall, when you have major problems all over your roster, I think it's a much bigger deal. Now, having said that, I don't think Kenny Pickett is the best quarterback in the class. I thought Malik Willis provided more upside, especially if you have Trubisky or maybe even Desmond Ridder. Now, of course, I'm jaded because I didn't have Kenny Pickett going as his first quarterback. I had other quarterbacks going and Kenny Pickett falling out of the first round. But it's at least looking okay for the under on 2.5 quarterbacks. We'll see how that goes out for the rest of the round. But I give it a P+. I think there was a determination on the part of Kevin Colbert to do exactly what Ozzie Newsome did for Baltimore, whether or not it works out, that he wanted to, in his final draft, and you saw the shot they showed of Colbert, if you watch the draft, where he turned around, waved, all right, that's it for me, everybody, to leave a legacy with the organization, knowing that they have a first round drafted quarterback there. Pickett's the problem is we got Lamar Jackson in our heads, and I think we thought about Malik Willis, and Kenny Pickett doesn't really inspire quite as much excitement as a Lamar Jackson type, perhaps.
Yeah. That's nobody does. Nobody who is going to bring the electricity that the player like Lamar Jackson brought. So that is the truth. And it's never easy to replace a legend. That's the other thing that comes with it. You're trying to replace a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. That adds to the pressure. Most guys would love to play in their hometown, but when you grew up in you go to college at Pitt, you know who Ben Roethlisberger is. You've probably followed his career closely, and there's a lot of pressure following someone like that. So, there is something to be said that maybe it's good to have a bridge quarterback where Trubisky plays a year and then Pickett takes over. But as I said earlier, it's an okay pick. I don't love it. I don't hate it, which is why it's a C for me.
C plus, P plus. That's what we give it. What do you give it? Let us know in the comments. Give us your grade for Kenny Pickett to the Steelers. Subscribe, hit the alert button, and make sure and like the post as well. And tell us your grade in the comments.